Hello guys, I think there is no need to remind you that we live in extremely challenging, very decisive moment of history. And not just here in Ukraine or Europe, but I believe the world. The tension is so strong, the danger is very real, the violence is unbelievable. And in such tense moment of history, we need to listen attentively to the dialogue between the constantly drunk President Medvedev, who also happened to be the deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, and Donald Trump. Honestly, a couple of years ago, it would be very difficult for me to imagine a similar situation, and that I will remain very attentive because that can actually decide a lot. Once again, I surely understand what is Donald Trump and what is Medvedev, but these people do possess great power given to them by their countries. And they do have nuclear submarines, for example, and Donald Trump ordered to deploy them to some specific regions after constant threats coming from Medvedev. I know Medvedev is a puppet, he is always drunk, he is definitely not the leader of the modern world, but he is the Russian official, he is the deputy chairman of the Security Council, he is the former Russian president, so maybe we should stop excusing them for their BS just because they are totally uncontrollable. Maybe the only way to end this is to bring control back to Russia with the defeat of the Kremlin and, some interference. They keep speaking about this foreign interference, so maybe they should finally taste it. Let's discuss this recent pathetic conversation between Lukashenko and Putin, and then that online dialogue between Trump and Medvedev. Seems like a movie, but no, that's the reality. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, and that is the only working peace plan, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. You know that Medvedev is some kind of Dr. Evil. He was a fake president of the Russian Federation. He simply kept the place warm for Putin when Putin was not that decisive yet and wanted to take a break. Later, he changed the constitution of Russia that allows him to rule Russia even from hell, or turn Russia into hell and keep ruling. But anyway, Medvedev is totally dependent on Putin. Medvedev is definitely a person suffering from a million of different addictions, and he demonstrates that clearly in his ex-posts, in his behavior, and on tons of photos available online. But at the same time, he is the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. He is not somewhere in the rehabilitation center or, hidden by his relatives on a distant farmhouse. He is an acting Russian politician responsible for the defense and security of the country. And he keeps threatening the United States and, I guess, almost every sane democratic country on this planet. And believe me, he is given a right to do so, because if Putin was dissatisfied with him, there are lots of open windows, lots of teacups that Medvedev could have been offered. So it's very common for the Russian Federation to have such clowns and to make them say what actually Putin wants or someone else in this more rude, more inadequate way, thus preparing the context or informing the enemies or the interlocutors and so on. And it's actually funny to read this reaction of Donald Trump, who at first was so kind with the Kremlin. To tell you the truth, I still fear he may return back to this super enthusiastic rhetorics about Putin and Medvedev. And I'm very grateful to the people in the United States who keep standing strong with Ukraine. That changes a lot. And I am 100% sure that if anything more or less positive happens in the direction of the support for Ukraine, it is only because of your work, of your demonstration, of your understanding that Russia is the dangerous evil, not just for Ukraine. Thank you for that. And remember to subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine. And it's so precious that you live in different corners of this world and you demonstrate your support. This means a lot, especially after such awful attacks as the one yesterday. And I hated how we always get new numbers: 31 people killed, including 6-year-old, 2-year-old children. And on the very next day after this terrorist act, we see Lukashenko and Putin. By the way, they're looking very bad. Honestly, I'm not being subjective here. These are very exhausted, very, pale after the bunkers. Last dictators of Europe that should have been neutralized long ago, and that could save lots of innocent lives of people who respect freedom, who respect others, but somehow escalation management allows them to comment, demanding, this Ukraine surrender and continuing attacks on our innocent people, homes at night. And in such context, I think it's very wrong to let Putin continue the negotiations process, because that's exactly what he wants. And interestingly, Donald Trump reacted to the threats of Medvedev and decided to deploy 2 nuclear submarines to some regions. Perhaps these regions are strategic, located within the reach of some of the Russian sites. And that is a reaction that Medvedev definitely deserves. It is interesting that Trump decided to make the deadline for Putin shorter until the 8th of August. Here in Ukraine, everyone understands it's impossible to end such war with such a bloody dictator as Putin, in a week or something. And at the same time, it's pretty interesting to understand what made Trump change this decision. Why did he decide to shorten the term? Maybe he finally felt the pain of all those innocent people. And by the way, your impressions, the information that you share online, so please share these videos. They work with some perhaps advisors, people around him, the daughter of General Kellogg. And Trump actually started reporting the numbers of the lost Russian soldiers, which like 100 times, well, like 10,000 times exceeds the number of the lost Ukrainians. And at the same time, we see that we need some decisions to be made, and this cannot be just sanctions, because India, for example, is prepared to switch to buying different oil, not Russian. They have this opportunity, and China remains very firm in their support of Russia. It actually exposes this very visible axis of evil: China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia. And that is why it's super important for us, people of the European Union, people of the North America, people of the South America who stand with Ukraine, Australia, to demonstrate this way bigger and stronger axis of good. And I pray for that. Honestly, that's what we need, because if you want to know like the real ordinary Ukrainian view on the process of negotiations or something like that, Zelensky keeps saying about this meeting between Kremlin, Goblin and him, but we all know it's not going to happen. First of all, because Putin is afraid to meet him, the contrast will be very visible. And also because it will not bring anything. Putin denies the very existence of our country. They want to destroy like everyone who identifies as a Ukrainian, create some filtration camps and use the rest of people to attack other countries in Europe. And to tell you the truth, we see that army is very important. They protect the front line, but the front line is not moving much. The strategy has changed, and it's all about targeting either legitimate military targets, as we do inside Russia, paralyzing the airports, oil refineries, destroying military air bases and arsenals, or keep targeting civilian houses as they do, hoping that people will simply demand a surrender, witnessing that every night, not being able to sleep, not being able to work, losing their children. And believe me, it's really difficult to read news like the ones from Kyiv these days. And there is a story behind each family, behind each child. They have faces, they had lives, they were among us just 2 days ago. But Ukrainians understand this is an existential fight, and such attacks, they do not break our will, but they bring pain that's really difficult. And that's the strategy. So Putin wants to pretend that he continues negotiating while targeting more and more of the civilian infrastructure. They can send thousands of drones and missiles. And I am worried that the visit of Witkoff is planned, and that was a message that Putin sent to Trump when speaking with Lukashenko, that we don't have to speak on public, let's stop speaking publicly, let's exchange private messages. And that is always a very dangerous area, because we all know Trump likes people like Putin, and Putin can easily manipulate him. So it's our task to remind that no one will forgive friendship with the greatest war criminal in the history of the 21st century, and that it will definitely be a great problem if Trump chooses to continue, talking and breaking the isolation, or giving Putin more time to target more Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. That is why I need your help. I need your reminders. Please share, please speak with those who doubt. And once again, there is another side that Trump has finally understood, or at least people around him, and that these nuclear submarines are to strengthen the position of the United States and their allies, that they realize by letting Russia do what it wants, by letting China support Russia, we cannot reach any normal phase in life of the modern planet, because this will demonstrate that no laws are obeyed, no rules are followed, and it's just super dangerous, because then any larger country can simply attack a smaller country, and then it may continue with, I don't know, a richer neighbor taking your flat just because they don't like you. I know you know that, but please help spread the message. Thank you so much for your support, and do check my new channel where we discuss a lot of important topics, including what is wrong with the great Russian culture, especially in this modern phase. Also, leave your comments with advice. What would you like to see on the channel next? Let me know what are your thoughts about this 8th of August, and will Trump switch his support to Russia again? Thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channels, and letting me film and work more. Very grateful for that. Subscribe to X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord. The links in the description of this video, same as the links to our merch shop. The t-shirts work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and I have reminded you a number of times we do need that, and it actually works. So thank you so much for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. Thank you so much for standing with us against the evil, and Slava Ukraini!